problem we have in this country is that the electoral system protects the uni-party, right? It keeps the uni-party in power. And Tim Stanley, who is a columnist at the Telegraph, who Telegraph even, who I respect and admire very much. I think he's a very good writer. And he says, actually, Labour's coming dictatorship destroys the case for first past the post, which is our current electoral system. Britain is already voting as if it has proportional representation, he says, but the system is delivering Soviet-style majorities, which is Eunice's point earlier. And Tim says if this poll proves accurate, he's talking about the Telegraph poll, which I'll just remind viewers, says that the Conservatives would be on 53 and Labour on 516. He says if actually these polls are correct and that there is a Soviet-style majority in the Commons, Tories second in vote share, yet almost third in seats. The Lib Dems third in vote share, yet within a whisker of forming His Majesty's opposition. Reform on absolutely nothing. Then you call into question, frankly, the entire premise of British democracy. It doesn't exist, right? We are living in a state in which, there is a cabal at the top which says you can only vote for these two parties. And even if millions of people, more than UKIP secured in 2015 rather, actually Reform winning more than that vote, which was worthy and large in and of itself, they still won't secure a single seat. That would be a complete farce and a travesty against democracy. So he's saying actually what first past the post was never meant to do was create a dictatorship, and Labour's landslide of this size amounts to just that. He says under the system, a parliamentary majority can do whatever it wants. Brexit, whether a left-wing government with barely any opposition, the Lib Dems, as I already mentioned, they wouldn't be in opposition. They agree with the Labour Party on everything. It would mean 5 years of driving the country in a fully left direction with no checks or balances, even if the country will have voted against it or abstained. So that begs the question then. I am now firmly of the view that we really do need to get rid of first past the post, and that should be a key priority for Nigel Farage's campaigning efforts over the next few years, because it will be a damn disgrace and create voter apathy on an unprecedented scale if there is this groundswell of support for reform, as we're seeing blow up right now within all of the comment sections across all of the platforms that we're on. If reform get absolutely no parliamentary recognition, despite the millions and millions of people that will come out and vote for it. I mean, I don't want to sound like a sort of miserable Mystic Meg, Alex, but that's the path that we're heading on.
Yeah, you're right. And look, I highly doubt that day is going to come, if I'm being entirely honest with you.
Yeah, so why would they let it happen, But they said that about Brexit, by the way, Alex. They said that about Brexit, and look, we had a referendum.
Well, that's true. That's true, yeah. But they did have UKIP clipping on their heels, and it was a Conservative government, and David Cameron was emboldened by his win up in Scotland and thought he could win another one and put this issue to bed. It was very important the Conservatives addressed the issue of the European Union within the party. This, however, is not a priority for Labour, and it's never going to be, because first past the post works exceptionally well for the Labour Party. Now, what I will say about the potential, I mean, this is far-fetched, but the Liberal Democrats becoming the official opposition is that one of the biggest things they will campaign for is proportional representation of some kind, because this also benefits the Liberal Democrats massively. So that might be the only saving grace of having Ed Davey, who I think is a total clown as it is. I mean, look at the way he's run his election. But the only saving grace would be that they would go for some sort of PR. AV, which they did campaign for before under Nick Clegg, was rejected quite substantially, if you remember. But what I was going to say about Nigel is that I suspect his big message the day after the election, because, Reform look like they're going to come second in potentially 150 seats on a poll a lot smaller than that one. Wow. This is a substantial opposition. This is real opposition. It is a lot. So if you're Nigel Farage, the day after the election, or the day that the election is called, you're able to go out and say, yes, we might have 3 seats, 4 seats, 7 seats, 2 seats, whatever it is, but you can see the appetite for change is here. And our electoral system does not offer the people a voice. It offers them this supermajority, which people haven't voted for. So that's an extremely powerful message. And Nigel will be able to start attracting, hopefully, Labour voters as well as more Tory voters to say, I'm the one realigning British politics to what the people want. Mm-hmm. You can demonstrate that with Brexit. You can demonstrate it with another referendum.
Yeah, I agree. Well said. Proportional representation on YouTube, just to add some balance to what we said. Twice Forsaken says proportional representation has to be carefully considered before implementation, as it can be a poor system if implemented wrongly. Jason says we want a decent version of proportional representation.
Yeah.
Of course, the version that was suggested in 2011 when we had a referendum on it, well, it wasn't proportional representation. You know, it was some halfway house. But what do you say? Yeah, AV, yeah, exactly. But what alternative vote? Yeah. Eunice, what do you say to those people that say, well, I think we should keep the electoral system as it is because I like the constituency link. I like the fact that there is an MP for my constituency that I can write to. And by the way, you know, I used to live in Battersea. And I remember writing to my MP when I was being investigated by the police for interviewing Dr. David Starkey, who viewers will be aware of, and they're probably aware of the events that took place during the BLM years. And I wrote to my MP and said, this has just happened. And of course, I was completely ignored. So having a constituency link, you know, it's completely irrelevant if you're on the reform right of politics. They don't care about you. So why care about the constituency link when your MPs are utterly useless?
Exactly. And I believe in proportional representation. What we have in this country is not proportional representation. Even in America, it's not, because then you have different states. And for example, if you live in a state in Wyoming in America, your vote is worth 5 times more than someone living in California. And the same in the United Kingdom. If you live in London, and you know London is going to be dominated by Labour, and all like these Midland countries, your vote is going to have a lot more power compared to someone else. And I think personally, if I was going to propose a system, I would say it should be based on popular vote. And I know that will be a complete revamp, and I don't think that will fit in with the whole parliamentary system. But if I had to choose, I'd say, okay, well, Labour got 40% of the votes, we'll give them 40% of the seats. Reform won 26% of the votes, we give them 26% of the seats. And I'll just spread it out that way. And I would just get rid of this whole MP idea. Because as you said, what does your MP actually do? I don't remember. I don't even know who my MP is. Like, I didn't know back in the day. I know he's great cats. But who, like, I'm asking the viewers now, who can name their MP right now? I bet 90% of you can't. And they're pretty useless.
You know what? I actually can't name my MP, and I'm a deeply political person. And where I am right now, I can't remember his name.
At the end of the day, people don't even vote for their MPs. They just vote for Conservative or Labour or Reform, and they vote for that leader. You know, and we should get rid of this system. It's
and
not
Featherstone raises the salient point that the only other person that is near us is Belarus, which has first past the post. So, you know, let's keep first past the post to be more like Belarus. Woo!
Yeah, you know, look, the one thing I will say to the viewers is this, because it's important they hear a balanced argument, because I know, look, the reason why a lot of us are so passionate about this now is because there's a party that needs this system to get into power that won't otherwise. So, and that's why there's a lot of passion about this. But I will say this to the viewers: there will be other parties that you massively dislike that will get in with substantial seats as well. We're talking about George Galloway's Workers' Party, potential. You're talking about potential religious-based parties like a Muslim party, for example. The Green Party will be exceptionally more powerful. So you know that, and parties fall in and out of favour with the masses. And you know, we do open the door to them to have a much bigger say. There's a reason why all the small parties want this system. Now, I do believe that under first past the post, Reform could still win. Not this election, I don't think. I think this would be the shock of this. It would be bigger than Brexit if Reform manages to scrape in even opposition in this election. But 2029, when they've actually established themselves and have got a proper party and a proper system in place, we can still win, because the British public do turn their eye and their attention to sensible parties. So let's see. PR would be the quickest route, and it would be the fastest route, and I think it's the best system. But we have to remember that we do allow other more extreme parties to get in that will be very, very, very bad for Britain.
Yeah, well, I agree George Galloway's party would be. And, but, you say a Muslim party, but I would argue that actually George Galloway's party already is, right? It's the party of religious sectarianism in this election. And I think sunlight is the best disinfectant. I think I'd rather these people be out in the open making these crazy ideas about, what they want to do to our country, and have their ideas challenged within the House of Commons. I think I'm all for that, to be honest.
I was just going to say, a really interesting point. Obviously, part of Starmer's manifesto is to remove the House of Lords over time and replace it with some sort of Senate.
He said he's not going to do that anymore.
Has he scrapped it? Has he? How typical.
He's just setting term limits. Yeah, he's just setting term limits. Yeah,
it's a start, right? It's a start to that. It's a start in that direction. So I wonder eventually if there'll be pressure groups within the Labour Party who want to see that system, and what system they propose is there. Perhaps they will propose a PR system for a potential elected Lords at some point.
Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk, and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.